the Quartering Act of 1765, the New York Restraining Act of 1767, and the Declaratory Act of 1767. The French and Indian War in 1754 through 1748 ended with Britain winning, gaining land in America, and power over the colonists. However, as a result from this war, Britain had lost a significant amount of money and found ways of gaining it back. Their solution was the colonies.
The Quartering Act was a result of tensions between American colonists and the British government following the French and Indian War. The British had spent a fortune fighting natives and the French and went into severe debt as a result. The Quartering Act required colonists to provide housing and provisions to the British soldiers. The British did this because they could not afford to fund their soldiers due to their debt. Who is knocking on my door? Hello, colonist. I'm a British soldier. The king sent me here to protect you. I need a place to stay, food to eat, and water to drink. Why do I have to do that? The French and Indian War is already over, so there's nothing to protect. Well, it's called the Quartering Act. The king already passed it. There's nothing you can do about it, so I'm coming in.
The image above shows American colonists burning Governor Colden's carriage as an act of rebellion against the British tyranny. This historical image is one example of the colonists rioting and defying the British Parliament. The New York Restraining Act of 1767 was a result of the New York colonists resisting the Quartering Act and other acts the British Parliament imposed on the colonists. This act restricted the New York Assembly from creating any new legislation until they accepted the Quartering Act. It also allowed the Royal Governor of New York to dissolve the Standing Assembly and reform a new assembly that was more favorable to the British Parliament and its wishes. As an effect of this, the British government was limiting democracy in New York, which increased the colonist movement towards self-government and their ideas of no taxation without representation. Although the other previous acts had been repealed after colonists' protests and revolt, the British Parliament still created the British government still created the Declaratory Act of 1767 to assert its power over the colonies and keep the right that allowed them to order the colonies around whenever they wanted to. For example, they had the right to tax and make laws without colonial consent. All of the following acts stated and other acts contributed to the colonists' anger towards the British persistent unfair treatment of the colonies. The colonies were done with the British attack on their freedom and wanted independence from Britain's rule, leading to the American Revolution.